right, welcome back, everyone. We will now move on to our next segment of tonight's forum, candidates running for Board of Education in Carroll County. Joining us this evening are current Board of Education member Tyra Battaglia, Jim Miller, and Steve Whisler. The format of this section will be a little different in that each candidate will be provided 3 minutes for their opening and closing statements, as well as 3 minutes to answer each question. These candidates really aren't running against each other, so there is no rebuttal time that's going to be provided. As a reminder to our candidates, when candidates have 15 seconds remaining, our timekeeper will hold up a yellow card, and when your time is up, she will hold up a red card. I ask candidates to be respectful of the time so that we can get to as many questions as possible. With that, we'll move on to opening statements. I conducted a random drawing. Jim, you will get us started this evening.
We only got 2 mics, and I'm the loudest, so I should go through the short straw here. So, thank you guys for being here tonight. Jim Miller, James Miller on the ballot, running for Board of Ed. Lifelong Carroll County resident, grew up in Carroll County, went to Liberty High School, proud graduate of Liberty High School. When I started a family, my wife and I, we were living in York, Pennsylvania. And I convinced her to move back to lovely Carroll County. She's actually from Pennsylvania. And the reason why I convinced her to move here was because of the schools. I went to school here. I knew this was and is the greatest school district in the state. We want to get back to Maryland, so we chose Carroll County. About 2 years ago, everybody knows what happened with COVID. And I have 3 children, all 3 in school now. At the time, I had 2 in school. And you know, I think Dan mentioned it was 14 days that they told us to send your kids home for 2 weeks, take a break, no big deal. It's an extended spring break, go back to school. Never happened. You know, it was confusing for, at the time, a 3rd grader and a 1st grader. They figured, okay, get a little extended break and then a summer off and we'll go back to school. Fall came, didn't go back to school. So at that time, I was heavily involved in the rec councils, youth sports. All my daughters play. And at the time, we were lobbying our commissioners to open up youth sports because they didn't have anything to do. Kids didn't have school, they didn't have sports, they had no outlet. And I heard from a lot of parents who said, what do we do? So we got Carroll County to open up youth sports. We were one of the first counties to do that. We actually were the first county to have winter sports that winter when school was shut down. Kids were able to play basketball and do things inside when every other county in the state couldn't. So I kind of got more involved and kind of tried to figure out how can I look out for the best interest of my children at the time, and then it turned into how do we push for the county and all the children. Then our great school board who's here, Kenny's here, Marcia's here, Tyra's sitting right here. They know me well because starting in you know, the fall when we didn't go back to school, they could probably find hundreds of emails from me every day saying, when are my kids going back to school? When are my kids going back to school? When are my kids going back to school? And I got to give them credit. They fought. They fought for Carroll County, and they fought for our students. And that's where I became more actively involved, ensuring that our children got put first during the pandemic. Because unfortunately, they were last. So when we finally got back into school, they know too, I fought to get masks off our children. I went to many school board meetings explaining why children shouldn't be masked every day, why our kids, I have a kindergartner who has an IEP for speech, and yet she was masked every day, and in speech class, she was masked. How is she supposed to develop? So after all that, I decided 15 seconds that I was going to run for school board because how else can I fight for children other than become a school board member? So thank you.
All right, thank you so much. That seat's pretty cold. Thank you so much. I'm Steve Whisler. I really appreciate everyone being here. I really appreciate, you know, the Women's Club for sponsoring this. It's a great opportunity for us to get to know you and for you to get to know us. But I'm a parent of 4 children. I have 2 children in the CCPS system. One is a senior at Liberty High School and the other is a 6th grader at Oklahoma Road Middle. We have 2 older children, 23 and 21. One works at Fort Meade and the other one is learning to be a pilot. So one of these days they'll get out of the house, but right now all 4 are at home. So I have a vested interest in making sure that our schools stay great. I'm also a military retiree. I did 20 years in the Navy, 10 years in the enlisted community, 10 years in the officer community. As a linguist, I speak Persian Farsi, which is the language they speak in Iran. Worked in that big building on Fort Meade for many years. War experience, combat experience, so I know what it means to serve, and I want to continue serving, and I want to serve the people of Carroll County. And another thing that I think that really makes me qualified for this position is that I'm a certified teacher. My teacher credentials do expire at the end of the year. I left the classroom in 2018, mainly because I was really frustrated with what I saw in our classrooms. And so I left teaching in 2018 to join my current employer. But I still have that drive to make sure that our kids are educated. I still have that experience of knowing what happens in our classrooms. I know what happens when people work together to make great things happen, and I know what distractions are like in our classrooms. And frankly, one of the reasons why I'm running is because of some of the things I'm seeing around our country. And so many people tell me that, oh, it doesn't happen here in Carroll County. Show me examples of where it's happening in Carroll County. And folks, I'm here to tell you, it's here in Carroll County. And we need to make sure that we elect a school board that will serve as a line of defense so that these distractions don't creep into our classrooms. We need to use what precious time we have in the classrooms today to educate our children, make them college and career ready, make sure that they're equipped to be the next leaders of our county, to be the future entrepreneurs, those future business leaders. And so that's one other thing that I have in my background, is I am an experienced business leader. And so I have managed budgets over $2 billion. I've managed large numbers of people. I know what it's like to negotiate contracts, to good, well-defined benefit plans for employees. And so I want to use all of those experiences I have to make our school board great.
Thank you, Steve.
For all those that do not know me, let me reintroduce myself. My name is Tyra Battaglia. I am currently on the Carroll County Board of Education, and I am running for re-election. I am very proud to be part of a team that fought to get our kids back into the classrooms, fought to get the masks off our children. That, to me, was one of the biggest things we need to do. Unfortunately, that is not everything that education is about, is COVID. So unfortunately, the past 2 years, we have not been able to do what needs to be done. We need to get back to the basics. Reading, the writing, and the math. Our kids need to have those basics to be career and college ready. And I say career and college ready because not everyone is suited for college. As a 43-year-old woman, I am currently in college, late learner. I am on track to earn my bachelor's degree in psychology with a minor in criminal justice. During COVID, everything that I was learning in my college classes online, I was applying to the decisions I was making. So when I was learning about, all our kids are at home, and I'm going, something just doesn't sit right here. Happened to be that subject matter I was studying, how isolation is so harmful to children and the elderly. They even compared it to failure to thrive that infants go through. So I started thinking, I'm like, wait, this makes sense. Like this isn't good for our kids. They're not getting out. They're not being healthy. They're not being active. They're being cooped up. Like many other parents, I myself was considered essential. I'm still considered essential. So I had to go to work when my children were home online. My then kindergartner was learning how to type instead of how to write. She's still having trouble learning how to write right now. So all three of my children, and yes, I have three, are currently a junior in high school. God help me, she's 17 years old. Shameless plug, she's being in Cinderella this weekend and next weekend at Man Valley, so make sure you check that out. My middle child is in 8th grade. He is 14 years old, again, God help me. And then the baby, the 7-year-old, who is currently in 2nd grade. The blessing, but the terror. all three of my children are different. And the one thing that I've noticed with all of our kids in Carroll County, every child learns differently. So when it came to making sure our children got back into the classroom, it was because every child learns differently and not every child can learn online.
That's right.
So, I have these wonderful gentlemen I get to run with BMW. And our goal is to make sure our children have what they need for reading, writing, and math.
Our current, wow, I was Southern, our current Board of Education member mentioned that not everything over the past 2 years is COVID, but you know, you're going to get some COVID questions from me this evening, specifically about vaccine mandates. Some places across the country have talked about vaccine mandates for teachers and or students. Would you be supportive of COVID vaccine mandates and CCPS in any form? And I want to expand upon that since you have 3 minutes. Would you be supportive of masking again in CCPS in any way, shape, or form, given what we're seeing with numbers rising again here in Maryland and what we're likely to see next winter? And Steve, we're going to start with you for this.
All right. First of all, the vaccine mandates, what a devastating effect it had on our students.
Yes.
And if there's a silver lining to any of this, the vaccines and the COVID shutdowns, it actually helped amplify what was going on in our classrooms, and parents had a chance to peek in and see what was going on. And so that's the silver lining in all of this. And so we have an awakening nationwide of what's been going on in our school systems. And that's not an indictment on the teachers. What that is that's just an indictment on the structure, the format, the things that we've been forced to teach. Because frankly, as a teacher, a lot of things we teach are forced upon us. So it's good that this is being exposed. So as far as vaccine mandates, it's a non-starter with me. I have seen so many people called a hero, our healthcare professionals, and then the next year they're fired if they don't get a jab. That's a non-starter with me. It should always be the choice of a parent, a doctor, between whether or not children are vaccinated. It should be the choice between a teacher, a staff member, and their doctor as to whether somebody should be vaccinated. Not some bureaucrat, not somebody telling you what you need to do and what you don't need to do. So I'm not a fan of vaccine mandates or masking mandates. It's a non-starter with me. The science is real clear. The science is real clear. There are far more devastating effects on our children, our society, by implementing these measures. And frankly, we all need to be skeptical, with a healthy level of skepticism, as to whether or not the information they're telling us is true, whether or not there's an agenda behind the mandates that they impose. It is very skeptical in my mind how all these mandates were implemented at the turn of a presidential election, and how unfortunate it was that many in our nation were scared, terrified, and frankly, fear is what really motivates people to do what those in power want.
That's right.
And that's something that we really need to keep in the back of our minds. So I am so appreciative of our current board members for injecting that healthy level of skepticism, for challenging what everyone thought was the status quo. The get your vaccine so that you can party by July 4th weekend, you won't get COVID. Guess what?
You got COVID.
People still got it. So again, we really need to approach everything from a healthy level of skepticism. We need to make sure that we get the expertise we need to make the right decisions on the school board. But believe you me, I know when I'm elected to this school board, you're going to get a lot of pushback from me so that we can get all the facts, not just some of the facts.
Thank you. Tyra.
I think this is a no-brainer for me. No and no. Parents' choice. It needs to be a parent's choice. It needs to be a family choice. And government has no right to touch my child. I've never been against anyone that wanted to wear a mask. By all means, if it makes you feel comfortable, feel free. But do not make others do something that they are not comfortable with.
That's right.
I don't agree with vaccine mandates for our children whatsoever. There has not been enough studies to have this out for a long period of time to know what's going to affect a 5-year-old 10 years down the road.
That is correct.
I still don't even know what it might do to me in the next 5 years. I know I, by choice, got the J&J. I, in turn, was sick for 2 months. I have Lyme disease. Okay? It's normal. It takes great. But I had such a massive flare-up, I couldn't move, I couldn't function, I had brain fog all the time, and it was because the vaccine threw it into overdrive.
That's right. That's right.
And when I went to my doctor, she looked at me and she wanted to smack me. Because she even said, "How dare you go get that?" And I said, "Well, they're just like, hey, here." She was like, "Yeah, you're one of the people that should not receive the vaccine. There are people that should have not received the vaccine."
Yes.
And unfortunately, our government did not disclose that to people. They did not disclose the truth to parents
That's right.
and others in the community. So, no vaccine mandate for me, and no mask mandate for me.
So, those who know me, I think it's pretty obvious. I'll start with masks. I do not believe our children should be masked. I think when it comes to education, and I said about my kindergartner, she needs to be able to see a mouth. She needs to be able to understand and learn. But more importantly, I think we fought to get the mask out of Carroll County. And again, our board did a great job. But what we actually found was, we took the mask off. We didn't see a spike. Okay? Children aren't the vectors of the disease, which is a good thing, which means they can go to school without wearing a mask. So I'm a big no mask for our children. I think I've made that clear through the last 2 years. And if you've watched school board meetings, I've been in school board meetings voicing my opposition of children in masks. And I think it's when it comes to the vaccine, I am not for a vaccine mandate on our children. And you'll hear a lot of the opposition say, well, there's mandates on our children now, MMR, right? There's different vaccines that they're required. The difference is, in my view, they eradicate a disease. The COVID vaccine does not.
That's right.
So similar to the flu vaccine, it's a choice. You have a choice to get the vaccine, just like the flu vaccine. You take that risk, you do that risk-benefit analysis by yourself as a family. You decide whether or not the vaccine's beneficial and it outweighs the risk. Every family is going to make that choice for themselves. So I don't think it needs to be mandated in schools. I don't think it should be mandated in schools. And again, it's not the same as the vaccine schedule children are currently on, which is a vaccine schedule for diseases that can be eradicated or eliminated. So that is an argument that you'll hear a lot that I don't agree with. And again, I believe it's a parent's choice on whether or not their children should be vaccinated. And they should do that own risk-benefit analysis on their own. And again, so like the other two, the answer is no and no. And I think, that's about it.
All right, let's move on to the next topic. Much has been talked about and written about in regards to learning loss at all levels due to the pandemic. There's little question from many that virtual learning was not wonderful for a great many of the students, even concerns with masking decisions on the learning loss of some of the youngest children in the schools. What should the board and school system be doing to address the learning loss that happened over the past 2 years? And Tyra, we'll begin with you.
So this is something that the current board is doing. They are addressing these issues. They are reaching out to parents to say, if a child is identified that needs a little extra help. The funding we were receiving from COVID funds, actually, to do this type of implementation for our kids. But also, it wasn't just for kids that just the teacher was noticing was having learning loss. A parent could also advocate as well. So a parent could go to the administrator and say, hey, my kids' grades are kind of tanking, can you help them out? Can I put my child in learning loss to get them back up and, to par? And there was always room in most of our schools for that. I did that for my own son. So it is already implemented. We do need to continue. That's going to be the challenge because COVID funding is going bye-bye. But it can be done. We can, reach out to our high schoolers that are in the National Honor Society to help out with tutoring, making sure that they are letting the middle schools know this is what is available. So we do need to continue with learning loss and helping our children, and any child for that matter, who needs help in getting back up to pace.
Again, credit to Carroll County. I think last summer we had a great summer recovery program for our students. I think a big part of this is looking to our teachers, who I believe we have the best, most wonderful teachers here in Carroll County. I truly believe that. So we have to look to them and ask, who are the students that need the help? They know best. How can we help each student? I think Tyra mentioned everybody learns differently. So summer recovery may be different for each individual student, or recovery may be different for each individual student. But let's identify the students first. Tyra brought up a great idea of using high schoolers in National Honor Society, or high schoolers in general, to tutor our younger children. Again, when we look at our teachers, they're stressed daily. And not only daily during the school year, but even throughout the summer. So asking them to do more is going to be difficult, if we're being honest, right? So we have to find ways in which we can get these students back up to pace with using other resources like Tyra mentioned. I was fortunate enough to be able to participate in Man Valley's junior mock interview day, where all the juniors have to go and do a mock interview. So I was able to interview 15, I think I had 15 or 16 students, and I will say half of them, 8 of them, brought their report card from the last quarter as their artifact. And I found it interesting. I said, each one of them brought it. I said, why did you bring that? And they said, well, they were all given a list of questions. So they knew they were going to ask, think of a time in your life where you faced adversity and where, you overcame. And those 8 students showed me their report card from this year, and they said, well, last year, I had all D's and F's. And they were high school students. And this was their sophomore year. They said, I didn't learn home. I didn't learn over a computer. So we truly had a year of learning loss for a lot of these students. But we pushed them along anyway, right? So, but I will give credit to our teachers again, because every one of those 8 students that showed me their report cards had A's and B's. So that tells me our teachers are already doing a great job getting these kids back up to speed, which is why I love Carroll County and why I moved here, because our teachers are doing it anyway. So now let's identify the students who need a little bit more, who haven't caught back up or need to catch back up, and figure out how to get them back up to speed. Thank you.
All right. So a lot of great ideas, and as a teacher, I have some ideas, but I will echo what we've already heard, in that our school teachers, our staff and our administrators, they're the first line of identifying where the critical needs are. They truly are. They see our kids every day. They know what they need, and they know how to get there. And as an educator, I'm really worried about the learning loss thing, particularly with our young, now 2nd and 3rd grade kids who missed out on that critical early childhood education, learning shapes, how to decode letters, how to phrase their sentences, how to put sentences together, how to write their letters. Critical learning loss, because these kids, they have short attention spans. They really do, and you can't do it online. So I'm really going to focus in, if and when elected, on early childhood education and making sure that we get those kids back up to speed. The other critical learning gap occurs, and the critical step is really from that 5th to 6th grade. Critical. Those kids that are now 8th, 9th graders, the whole purpose of middle school is reinforcing those basic concepts that they learn in elementary, to reinforce, solidify them, and making sure that they know how these basic concepts work and how you pair them together. Because in high school, that's when you fuse them together to solve bigger and better problems. So I'm really concerned about our now 9th and 10th graders that really missed out on reinforcing a lot of those basic skill sets that they missed out in middle school. So when I'm elected to the board, I'm going to make sure that we focus resources, if they come from Blueprint, not guaranteed, we got to make sure that we hire additional instructional assistants and staff to help our teachers accomplish these things that they identify as critical needs. That's really, really important. So the learning loss is real. And as a business leader, I also want to see if we can partner with a lot of the tutoring companies we have in our Carroll County to maybe serve in and reach in from a virtual perspective, helping us accomplish those after-school tutor sessions. Because we can rely on businesses to help fill that immediate need. So there's a lot of things that we can do, a lot of resourceful things that we can look at. But again, we really do need to address the learning loss, and our teachers are the first source. And then we need to make sure as Board of Education members that we put those resources where they got to go so that our kids get back up to speed.
Thank you. So my next question is, what programs will you support to prepare students for employment, particularly those not planning to attend college? And Jim, we'll start with you.
I think, again, Tyra did a good job in her opening statement. She mentioned this, actually. So we have career technology, right? And here in Carroll County, which is phenomenal. And I think we can expand that. I do think as we look at education, it's changed a little bit over the last few years. We have a lot more students who are willing to forego college and look at trades, right? And we need them here in the U.S., especially in Maryland. As you look around, I just built a house, probably the worst time ever to build a house. Started in February 20 and finally moved in last week. So, no, February 21, sorry, it wasn't that one, February 21. But anyway, long story short, a lot of the delays are because of the trades.
Yes.
We didn't have people to do the work that needed to be done. So when we look at our high school students, not everyone wants to go to college, and that's okay. We have to accept that. We have to be telling them it's actually a great thing. It's a great thing to have students who want to go into trades. So let's find a way to support them. Career technology is a phenomenal way to do that. And also, again, going back to identifying these students and actually having those conversations to let them know that this is a great path. It's a good path. For a while, we pushed everybody towards college, right? You hear a lot, and everyone talks about, well, let's make community college free for everybody so everyone at least gets a 2-year education and we can get them onto a 4-year education. That's not for everybody, and that's okay. So, I think it's a great idea to continue to identify those students, figure out what they want to do, find a path for them, and then support that. Maybe through career and tech, maybe expanding that a little bit. But I think the biggest thing is encouraging students to do what they want to do. And don't look down on a student who says, I don't want to go to college. Great, let's identify what you like, what you enjoy, and find that path. Because again, my house may have only taken 7 months, 14 months. But anyway, I think it's worthy, and we need to support it, and we need to support those individual students.
All right. Well, first of all, I wanted to ask, are there any teachers in the audience here? No teachers. I'm all by myself. Anybody here with student loans? I'm the oldest one up here, and I guarantee you my student loans are the highest. And it's really sad as a teacher to hear my colleagues, many, not all, but many, every kid should go to college. Every kid should go to college. I like to snap back and say every kid should have an opportunity to go to college.
Yes.
No question. No question. And as an elected official, on the Board of Education, we're going to make sure that kids have that option, have that choice, have that possibility. And we're going to work together with our commissioners and our elected officials at the state level and whatnot, to make those college resources there when they get there. But every child should not go to college. I'm telling you that right now. Should not. Should not. Not every child should walk out of a university with near 6 figures of debt and dream of getting a house with a mortgage, because you're not going to get it. You're just not. We need to make sure that we continue what Carroll County does best, and that's offer great opportunities for our kids to have a vocational or a technical trade that they can walk into immediately after high school. Because we need entrepreneurs in Carroll County. We need to teach our children how to be entrepreneurs. We need to increase the opportunities for summer internships, not just in the senior year, but also the junior year. There are mandates coming down from the state that's going to make us start looking at giving kids these tracks earlier than their senior year. So we need to partner with the business community to give our kids ideas, expose them to possibilities, get them passionate at an early age in these trades. Because I don't want to call Columbia or Baltimore City or Pennsylvania for an expert in the trade. I want to be able to call somebody in Union Bridge or Eldersburg or Manchester. We need to grow our next generation of entrepreneurs and business owners here in Carroll County. And so that is what we need to focus on. So no, not every child should go to college, and we will do everything we can to make sure that those possibilities are there for kids to experience at an early age what it is like to maybe one day help that farmer, And so again, it's one of the reasons why I like running with these two, because we all want what's best for our kids, and we all have a great set of ideas to make it happen.
Thank you.
In Carroll County, our 8th grade students primarily will take a tour over to the Career and Technology Center as a field trip. And they go over there and they take a tour and they kind of see what they might be interested in. Now, of course, any child can change their interest overnight. It's just very, very amusing how that happens. But the point is, it sets the tone. It sets the foundation of, look, here's an idea. Here's something for you to potentially do once you get into high school. I am very proud to be part of the modernization of the Career Technology Center here in Carroll County. I am so proud to be part of that. I can't wait for the It's taken a long time to finally get that done. There's going to be more programs offered. It's going to take a little while, but there will be. I would love to see plumbing in there. We do have an amazing sheriff's department here in Carroll County, and I believe there's a training facility over at a former high school. So there, we have something else to tap into with the criminal justice program that is at the Career Technology Center. Some of our other programs are already embedded into each individual schools. And we have the finance program, we have the teaching pathways. So our children do need to know what they potentially want to get into, but we also want to make sure that we give them everything available to take that path. One thing I have been an advocate for quite some time is when a child applies for the Career and Technology Center that they need to do some type of resume or an interview for a specific program. Because there are several times a student will go into a program and will not utilize that into their future. I'm sorry, if you're going into the biomed, you need to have a pathway for biomed, not to be a real estate agent.
Right.
We need to make sure our students are getting the opportunities available for them. And I'm very glad that we have that beautiful gem on Washington Road that is being modernized right now.
All right, my next question, and I'd be remiss if I didn't mention this. There are 3 seats up for Board of Education this year. There are 3 candidates here on the stage. 3 candidates running as a slate. And if you didn't know it, there's a sign on the wall over here big enough, I don't even need my glasses to read. So my question is this. Individually, why did you choose to run as a slate on this team? And Steve, I'll start with you.
So why did I look to these two to run with? First of all, I love their values, okay? And I think I'm a pretty good judge of character, having served in the Navy 20 years. And in the Navy, we put our trust, faith, and confidence in those we serve alongside. I know in the Sheriff's Department, it's the same thing. Police officers, same thing. So I want to serve with people that I know are like me, that believe the things I believe, that have the values that I have. And not only that, will have my back. But more importantly, I want to work with people that are not yes men and women either. And I got to tell you, these two are not yes men and women. We really have great discussions on what's the best way ahead for our county. What's the best way to help our kids. And I think another reason why I wanted to run with these two is because if you look at the individual skill sets we have such a great complementary package. Finance, business, military experience, planning, budget, educator, fighting for kids, a passion for kids, an understanding of what goes on in the classroom. All these people have that, the athletic angle of things. I'm running with a great group of people that want to get things done. I don't want to work with people that want to just do things the way they are. But more importantly, I look at it from a societal perspective and a social perspective. I don't want these political and social agendas in my classrooms at all. It's distracting. It's not what's best for children. And I think these two agree with me wholeheartedly on that. We're all, well, again, I'm not going to speak for them. I'm really disheartened by what I'm seeing around this nation. It's almost like there's a doubling down. It's unbelievable. And frankly, I wonder how we even got to this point. How did we let it get this bad? Okay? Our opponents, I'm sorry, they have different mindsets and values.
Absolutely.
They identify with what's going on around this nation, and they think it's a good thing. I'm sorry, I don't.
Right.
So that's why I chose to run with these two. And I'm so proud to run alongside them.
Thanks, Steve. Tyra?
So initially when the idea was brought to me, and I was going, I don't know, because the last time I didn't get much support. So now I'm like, well, this is foreign to me. I was actually really honored to say, hey, look, we got two people that we want you guys to work as a team and run as a team. When Mr. Kyler had said he wasn't seeking re-election, I was like, oh crap, now what? So I wanted to surround myself with people that were going to be supportive of me, be supportive of the board, and be supportive of the organization itself that CCPS stands for our children in the county. So I met Steve. Okay. Met Jim. When I knew Jim, I was like, Jesus, man, all the emails are coming. Now he wants to be right. And then, I knew he wasn't mad at me. He knew it wasn't our fault. Took a couple times to explain that, but he eventually got it. Ken and Marsha, nice discussions with them. Just surrounding yourself with people that are going to have your back too.
Absolutely.
And knowing you yourself are going to have their backs. We are equals. It is not one person is stronger than the other. We all three have the same ideas, and we can also build off those ideas from each other to help each other out. And that's what's so great about BMW. Woo!
So Scott asked a question that we get on social media all the time, which I used to love Facebook until I started running. Somebody used to go on my post all the time and said, be a man, run alone. And I said, that's not what this is about. There's 5 of us. There's not one Board of Ed member. There's 5. So you got to be able to work together. I knew Tyra from hounding her with emails for 2 years. And I also knew Tyra was a parent with a huge heart. And every time I talked to Tyra, she would talk about kids and how she wanted the best for the students and our kids. And that's who Tyra is, and so that was easy. I didn't know this guy, but But the first time I met Steve, we had a conversation, and Brian, who's helps out the Slate, he's like, I want you to talk to Steve. And I found that Steve's a parent who has the best interest of children at heart as well. And if you remember why I'm running, it's because I have 3 kids, and during COVID, nobody put our kids first. You know, our school board, God bless them, they tried harder than anybody else in the state, but nobody put our kids first. So I wanted to run with 2 people who were going to put my kids first. Because that's the most important thing. If there's anything that you can find in this world that I care more about my kids, let me know, because I don't think there is. And I know these 2 are the same way. And it's not just my kids, it's every kid in Carroll County. We're here to do what's best for them, and every decision we make is going to be what's best for our children. It may not be popular, and we might not always agree, I can guarantee that. But here's the best part about it, is we can have a conversation and come to a compromise that, again, is best for our children. So when you look at the 3 of us, you know, people are going to say it, have the guts to run alone. It's not how it works. You need 5. You need people who have a like mindset, are willing to do the best for our children, willing to compromise, willing to have conversation, willing to have dialogue, and come to a common ground that we can go back and say we did the best we could. And we did it together. So that's why.
Thank you. All right. Recently, recently there was a controversy around flags distributed in the school system.
What? No.
The current board has taken on the task of creating a new flag policy for the school system. You know why you're first on this, right? What are your thoughts on the distribution of flags for the classrooms and the idea of a specific flag policy for the school system? And Tyra, as the school board member, you can lead us off.
I don't know anything about it.
Yeah. I'm sure you're not gonna know he does.
All right, I'm gonna keep it simple. There is one flag in this country that represents every single person that is born and dies, and that is the American flag. The American flag stands for everybody. Every individual, no matter their race, no matter their gender, it doesn't matter. It is one flag. There are men that are buried with that flag, that fought to give us the rights that we have every single day in this country. At no time was it said someone could not be who they are. The problem is when you allow one, you have to allow them all. And it is going to open up a portal of just terribleness. Emails are bad enough. Facebook's bad enough. But that's it. That's the only flag anyone should need. If you have to have a piece of cloth to tell you it's okay to talk to somebody, I think we got bigger problems than that. Because that should not be the answer of, that's a safe person to talk to. I know I can pick up the phone and I can text and call a lot of people in this room because I feel safe talking to you, having a discussion with you. Knowing people, that is what makes everybody unique. And you don't need a piece of cloth to say, that's the person I can only talk to about a problem.
Can you summarize the issue? There's a lot of people that don't know.
Okay. The controversy is the pride flag, or more or less the progress pride flag, was donated to the schools. The Board of Education members did not have a vote in that. We were not notified regarding that. They were donated. Administrators told their teachers, if you would like to put one in your classroom, you can. And it was to have as a symbol of, if a student identified as LGBTQ, for them to feel safe. Okay, well, my gun makes me feel safe. I'm just gonna say that. No, I don't have it on me. I struggle with it because I am an ally. I am. And I will talk to anybody about anything. If any child needs to come to me and talk to me as an adult, I would then take them to where they need to get the resources. It is not my job to have a discussion regarding sex, unless it is my child. So that's where a lot of this came from. So, but that is the only symbol that should be in our classrooms.
Thank you, Tyra. Jim.
So when this first happened, I had no idea until I started getting messages from teachers who actually felt offended. They said, I have an inclusive classroom. My students know that I'm inclusive. I don't exclude anyone, but I was being pressured into putting this flag up in my classroom to show that I'm inclusive. You know, my stance on it is, just like Tyra said, and I've talked about this before, where do you draw the line? And I've posted about this. If you allow one flag, do you allow all flags?
That's right.
What if one flag is offensive to one group and they want it taken down, but they like another flag? I believe the U.S. flag, the Maryland flag, the Carroll County flag. Fly them in classrooms. But the biggest thing is, I believe our classroom is where our children learn. And when you want to talk about sexual identity or anything of that sort, that's for home, especially in our younger students. Dan was here earlier. He talked about the bill going through, you know, pre-KK, first, second, third, fourth grade. It's proven those children don't even really understand that yet. They don't understand at that age. So why have the conversations? Why bring it into the classroom at such a young age? There are resources in Carroll County. There are resources, there are teachers, and every student knows who they can go to if they need to talk, who they can go to at school. I'm not a professional in psychology. I'm not somebody that I want a student coming to and asking those tough questions. I don't know the answer. And I think a lot of our teachers feel uncomfortable because they don't know the answer. But as it comes to a flag, it's not a symbol of inclusiveness. And I think a lot of our teachers were taken back. They felt pressured to take this flag, and if they didn't, they felt like, well, their classroom's not inclusive. Why didn't you put the flag up? You know, they want to be able to teach every student. Every student they love, and I know that. They told me, they said, I love all my students. I don't need to show a flag to show that. But again, it goes back to, if you allow one, do you allow another? And where do you draw the line? And I think when we talk about the classroom, I don't want the debate to be whether you can hang a flag. I want the debate to be why Carroll County is the best school system in the state of Maryland because of education, teaching the basics, teaching our elementary school students the basics, having a high success rate in high school with our standardized testing or testing, not whether or not we should be flying flags in the classroom.
Thank you, John.
Well, I'm not sure how much more I can add to that because I'm in total agreement. But what really perplexes me as a parent, as a teacher, is this intense need to put our kids in the middle of issues.
Yes, yes, yes.
I just don't understand. You know, it's funny, when parents go through a divorce, what's the first thing they tell the parents? Don't put the kids in the middle. Hey, that's right. We have groups of people who are just intent on putting our kids in the middle. And as a teacher, it's distracting, folks. Again, I'll say it again. We only have so many hours in the school day to teach our kids the things they need to be college and career ready. I don't understand this intense need to pull the pin out of the grenade, roll it in the middle of the room, and see what happens. Because that's what's going on in our country today.
Yes.
Whether it's the issue of the gay pride flag or social justice, looking at things from a racial lens. It's just everything has to be, let's put on a jersey and fight. And I don't understand it. As a Board of Education member, I want us to focus on academic achievement. My colleagues just want to teach their craft. They want to see our kids flourish and thrive. 99.9% of the teachers out there They don't want this nonsense in our classrooms. So I really appreciate the actions of the board to help remove that distraction.
Yes.
And unfortunately, the proponents who want to do these things, they're going to immediately lash out with ad hominem attacks and say, you're anti-gay, you're a racist. I have pretty thick skin, folks. Been shot at a lot. You're not going to hurt my feelings. But I really want those people to sit back and just really honestly reflect and think about what they're doing. Nobody on this stage is a racist, is a homophobe. We just want our kids to learn. We just want our kids to learn in an environment that's free of distractions. So,
Well, time flies when you're having fun, and we are at the end of this segment, folks. So, you each have 3 minutes for your closing statements. Talk about whatever you want, but most importantly, remind folks why they should vote for you. And Jim, you're up.
All right. So, again, I talked about why I was running, but a quick story of kind of the emotional side of what really got me charged up to fight for my kids and then all kids. Pandemic. My daughter, my oldest, plays lacrosse. They all play sports. My oldest plays lacrosse, and school was shut down. Sports got shut down in the spring, and she plays club lacrosse. At the time, she was in 3rd grade, and they canceled the spring season. Finally, in September, they started practice, and we drove to practice in the car. She was nervous because she had months off. We still played outside and stuff. She got back in the car, smiling ear to ear, literally the biggest smile I've ever seen on her face. And she looks at me, and she says, "Dad, this is going to sound really weird, but I felt free out there." Wow. She said, "I felt free on that field." And she said, I know, it's weird, it's crazy. I said, no, it's not. And it hit me. My 3rd going on 4th grade daughter just told me she was struggling. She didn't know how to express it, but she was telling me at that moment in time that what happened before wasn't normal.
Right.
And even as parents, as we try hard to make it normal, she knew it wasn't normal. But she knew what she got to do that day was what she wanted. And I looked at her and said, I promise you, it's not weird. And I said, I promise I will continue to fight every day so that you feel that freedom that you just felt on that field. So that's why I'm here, because I made that promise, and we don't know what's going to happen. We honestly don't. Everybody says, the masks are behind us, schools are going to be open. We don't know. We honestly don't know, but I can guarantee this, that if elected, when elected, if you vote for me, I will make it my #1 priority to fight the state the next time. And I know there's only so much we can do, and I know this school board did everything they could do, and they know I tried to get them to do things that they probably couldn't do, but I asked. And Haven knows too, because I even called, texted, emailed, Facebook messaged, every which angle to try to get our schools back open. But if they try again to take away from our kids the right to live free, as my daughter put it, and to go to school and experience a childhood they deserve, you can guarantee that I will fight that. And they probably would have to walk me out before they walk our kids out.
all right, so I hope it's obvious that the 3 people on this stage want what's best for our kids,
Yes.
including me. So I want you to vote for me because we are at a critical crossroads in education in this country. We really are. We need every single person to get out and vote. And it's so important that everyone in this room and everyone watching online tell 10, 15 people, even the people that don't have kids in the system, they need to get out and vote. Because many people don't vote down ballot. And even worse, on our ballot, there's no R or D to help folks understand what the basic values are of the people running in that office. There are so many undervotes or people that don't vote for these down ballot offices. We need your help. We need each one of you to take 10 signs and give it to your neighbors and friends. We need each of you to look at our website to see what events we're doing and to help support us financially. Because there's going to be a lot of investment on the other side to break apart what's going on in this county. This county has a target on its back because of all the great, innovative, resourceful things that this board did to get our kids back to school early and to fight the status quo that we see going on in Annapolis. So I want you to vote for this ticket to keep our kids in a great learning environment, to keep our schools the best in this state, to keep a focus on academic achievement, not social and political engineering, because that's what's happening around our country. And as I said earlier, they're doubling down. So please, I would really appreciate your vote, and I would be honored to be a member of your next Board of Education.
Thanks, Steve.
So I have the three same goals as I had last time, and I've expanded on them for different reasons. Number one was keeping our communities together. So I came from the Charles Carroll area, and my oldest was the last 5th grade class that walked that halls when they closed the school. And I vowed from that moment on that I would never allow another school to close like that in this county. And there's 3 schools that closed, and it was the biggest mistake ever made, because we need them. So number one is keeping communities together. We are going to have to look at redistricting, but if you saw my video, and I keep saying with a very fine lens, and it's because we need to make sure, A, the same children and the same families that were part of the first set of closings and everything are not part of any redistricting that needs to be done. We have to make room in the southern end of the county, unfortunately, because that's getting a little crowded, but we do need to make sure we're doing it in a very appropriate way. And that has to be just, I know what it feels like to be shuffled around, and you just want to make sure it's done in an appropriate way. Second goal, drug education. All right, so 2 things I was able to do besides COVID. I got naloxone training in our high schools for our health curriculum. I'm very proud of that because naloxone is not just for those that overdose on opiates. It can help if a teenager is home with their grandparent and their grandparent forgot to take their, that they already took their medication, they took too much. Or if a teenager is babysitting and a baby got a hold of something and the teenager didn't know. Again, it's a life-saving measure. Life-saving measures, there's a purpose for them. So I'm glad I got that into the high schools. Navigating the Waters is a resource program that is offered once a year they did a Winter's Mill, and it just brings the different organizations we have in the county. So those are 2 very big things I'm very proud of, and I want to continue to work on that and build on that. The third thing is consistency in our curriculum. All right, so we learned a very valuable lesson here in COVID is virtual learning. However, we're going to build on that. We already are working on extending that, and that is by, like Francis Scott Key only offers Spanish, 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 and Spanish. Meanwhile, Westminster High offers Chinese, Spanish, French, German, sign language, Latin, so we can tap into that virtual learning component and expand it around the county so every child in high school has an equal opportunity to that learning environment. So those are my 3 goals. And the 3 things I want to expand on. I've only scratched the surface. COVID put a dent, but I only scratched the surface, and I want to keep going. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidates, that ends this segment. Folks, let's give them one last round of applause. Wait, no, let's not give them a round of applause.
I have an announcement, please stay.
Say.
So before you guys go, I have an announcement. Dan Cox had to leave. However, he wanted me to tell you that he is formally endorsing the 3 of you and the Slate as candidates. So he will be releasing a formal endorsement for Battaglia, Miller, and Whisler. And we would like to thank Dan Cox for that endorsement. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to talk about that too. Okay, thank you. Thanks, guys. You can sit down. I'm gonna